It's that time of year again. Bilderberg is right around the corner, and so we're in downtown Vancouver today to ask people what their thoughts are on the Bilderberg Group and their eventual endgame agenda of forming a one-world government. Let's do it. Trace, what are they discussing in Bilderberg, sir? You don't have to run away.
Everything is private and off the record, so that's what I think of it.
Okay.
Hold on people's faces.
Right. Well, you're public figures now when you attend something like Bilderberg. This is kind of what comes with the territory now.
According to you.
Okay, so today we're just asking some random people on the street if they've ever heard of this particular group who's meeting in Italy in about 12 days from now, and they're called the Bilderberg Group. Have you ever heard of Bilderberg?
No.
Nope. I have not. No.
No, I haven't.
No. Nope.
No, I don't think so.
I've heard of it, but I would be ignorant to speak like I know what I'm talking about, but I have heard it. What's the quick kind of rundown on what they do meet about? I guess this is me turning the question to you, but yeah, I'm a little ignorant to the actual meat and potatoes of it.
Sure, I'll give you the quick rundown, and then you can give me your thoughts on it in general. Bilderberg, on average, is about 120 to 150 people, roughly, who meet once a year. They've been meeting since 1954, and it's generally presidents, prime ministers, heads of finance, media moguls, military men, very powerful. The who's who, very powerful and influential people. But the meetings are off the record, and they're very behind closed doors. What are your thoughts on those types of meetings that take place with these kind of people?
I think that the view is probably changing on them, along with many other things, as we get into a digital media age where, you know, back when, I'm mid-30s, so when I was younger, you didn't maybe hear a lot about people even inquiring into it because there was no way to know.
Bilderberg, yeah, they were a very rich family in the U.S.
Yeah, actually, Bilderberg is a number of families and a number of people who meet in secret.
Oh, like me, I'm with the Knights of the Holy Sepulchre. 900 years old, the order is.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of meetings in terms of power and like our secret sounds very capitalistic to me.
Well, I think that's probably really difficult, right? So, I mean, what do I think about anybody meeting in private to discuss something? It sounds very complex. Sometimes there's things you don't want to say in public, but it doesn't mean that they don't want to be aired. But what comes out of that, obviously, should maybe be public. I don't know. I think that's a difficult question.
I've heard of them.
You've heard of them?
Yep.
Okay.
Rothschilds, Bilderbergs, elites, whatever you want to call them, right?
Yeah. All right. So we've got one who's heard of Bilderberg. All right. So what are your thoughts in general when it comes to these types of organizations, people meeting behind closed doors, you know, discussing foreign policy in secret? What are your thoughts?
Monopoly. Monopoly in all kinds of different facets, actually. Monopoly of society, monopoly of who's rich, who's poor, monopoly about, you know, even technology. There's clean technologies which are out there, which we're not even using.
Well, partly I think it's, you know, my conspiracy theory thing kicks in and I get suspicious of them. And then my other thought thinks, well, maybe they actually get something done.
I think it kind of depends. Like, if they're just like talking amongst themselves, a lot of the time it's like it might be good because it could cause like disruption if it's like something that could scare like normal people.
I think transparency is essential to leading a democratic and equitable society. But that transparency, I don't think, is something that the current system works off of or holds as valuable.
Nowadays, you know somebody's going to have a phone in there. You know something is going to get leaked, and it's almost people wait in bated anticipation now because all these questions that we maybe have had, like I say, I didn't know about that specifically too much, but about things like that, you know, the higher-ups meeting in these secret society type things, we're seeing a lot more of that exposed, or at least facts of it, where we can start to form a better opinion, whereas before it was kind of everybody was in the dark by both necessity and choice. That necessity is not so much there anymore with everybody having a camera and a microphone in their hand.
So do you see, and it sounds like maybe an importance to put put the pressure on in some sense, or to try to demand more transparency from these types of groups?
See, here's the thing. If everybody was content and everybody was, I don't want to go on like a kumbaya type thing, but if everybody was loving each other a bit more and we didn't have things like, and I'm a former Vancouver resident, I'm currently not a Vancouver resident, but I know when I come here what I'm prepared to see in terms of people that are in an unfortunate situation. And when everybody's got a laundry list of problems, issues, and they're legit, these meetings are going to get raked over the coals, as they should at this point.
I'm really for like transparency in government, which, is not the case in any government really, but...
Well, one of the things that these guys do openly brag about is the fact that they are responsible for the formation of the European Union, and all those countries in Europe giving up their national sovereignty in favor of joining into the Union. Is that something that you are in favor of? Is that a good thing or a bad thing, or are you neutral on that?
I can't say I know too much about the European Union, but I do like the idea of like regulated taxes and laws and stuff.
Are they? Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Good for them.
Yeah?
Because I'm German and I enjoy have a European passport, German passport.
Yeah.
And it's European Union is good.
Yeah.
And we are not going to be put down by Trump.
What do you think about Brexit?
Brexit's too bad that they pulled that off, yeah. It would have been nice to have them in the European Union.
I guess like in that situation, it might have been good that they didn't tell a lot of people, because like a lot of people might have had like things to say against that and could have stopped it, and like a lot of good could have come, or like a lot of bad or good could have come out of it.
So it's kind of important for them to be able to achieve some of their agendas, to keep it secret, to do so.
Yeah.
Again, I think the EU is a multi-complex concern. I mean, like even the what's it called? The Brexit.
Yeah.
A lot of people aren't happy with that, even people who voted for it. So I think it's difficult and complex, and most people don't give it enough thought because they can't. They got busy lives, they got to feed their kids, they got to pay for a roof over their head. It's what we pay politicians for.
Generally, when you have good intentions, you would want to present that on a silver platter. Typically, when you're trying to hide something, it's because of nefarious purposes. Do you think is there a chance there might be a nefarious agenda behind this?
I don't mean to curse, but the road to hell is paved with good intentions, sir. So we're starting to see that become a reality in certain forms of society, and especially a little more maybe in America, but I'd be ignorant, and so would a lot of people out there, to think that some of those same things aren't projecting up here to Canada, and in some ways are being projected onto us by our government in Canada here. So not to go with a trendy word, but if everybody was staying a little more woke on what is really going on in the situation of governments, and now we have the chances to do that with so much exposure media. I come off to hop on the train and I catch you guys out here making people aware, informing me while allowing other people also cast opinions. So this is the start of that. If everybody's given a voice, I know sometimes it can be a little bit unfortunate everybody gets a voice on social media without being qualified to do it, but stuff like this is great that we can all kind of make people aware of what's really going on.
All right, on a totally separate note, since you brought it up in the beginning, what's wrong with capitalism?
Oh boy. It's a government, it's a system that's, controlled by greed and power, and the lower down people, it's like a system of rank, and they don't get what they need. Lower down people have no voice. When you have a world that's run by a need for money, people's needs don't get met, and people don't end up being happy.
How should it be dealt with? I mean, what is there to do? I mean, how much money is too much money for somebody to have, or how do you deal with it? What's the alternative?
Well, I'm a socialist, so I'm definitely for socializing like public services, and generally I think everybody's, first of all, before we get even to that, everybody's basic needs should be met. Then you can start controlling too much.
In order to meet everyone's basic needs, how can that be achieved other than taking money from others, which essentially amounts to theft, doesn't it?
Well, taxation is, different than theft. If you use taxation to create a socialized healthcare system, it's very different than, robbing people's houses.
But you don't have a choice when it comes to taxes. If you don't pay your taxes, men with guns show up to your house and put you away in a cage. How is that not theft?
Generally, that doesn't happen to rich people, but it's different. I think when what you're saying, basically when you tax rich people, it's a different way. You could consider it theft to tax poor people in general.
But not the rich?
It's not like, move. It's not, you don't have to stay in the country if you're so, I don't know how to, you could think of it as theft. You can frame anything in a bad light, sort of, but if you're saying like, oh, I don't care about the people dying, I need to keep my money, I don't know what to tell you. That seems pretty selfish and completely shut off from the world.
Do you trust government generally?
Trust is you can never truly follow any government without questioning. It's important to question government. It's you can't blindly follow anybody.
Wouldn't they be the ones in charge of spreading the money, spreading the wealth, so to speak? You'd be putting that trust into something that you already distrust, right?
Sorry, I keep thinking that we need to go.
I think it's complicated, and I think trying to just get an emotional response is not necessarily helpful. It's problematic.
Okay. Well, what about on the hypothetical leading towards multiple unions, and what their end game actually is for all of them to eventually unite into a singular world government? What are your thoughts on that?
Brother, that's what you're after?
Beautiful dream.
Like that?
Beautiful dream, yes. One currency, one government, a guy with brains and with whatever it took to build up in Europe some of the countries again. But those guys are gone. So I don't know.
Isn't it dangerous having that much power into fewer and fewer hands?
Yes and no.
Well, I would like it if there was a one world government based on love. I think that would be awesome. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so is that what they're building for?
They are building for that, not necessarily based on love, but they are working towards a one world government.
Yeah, I would really like that.
I think the idea is good. The concept is good. The execution of that is very difficult, in my opinion, just from the small amount of traveling I've done to see the way cultures differ. And I think, truthfully, it would be North America that I probably have the toughest time kind of changing a lot of their ways to streamline the way most of the rest of the world lives. So, yeah.
I've never heard of it, and I think it might be good idea because it could promote a lot of peace, but it seems kind of far-fetched.
All of us are really brother and sister. We are all born of this earth. And now with globalism, we're still learning how to get alongside one another, but I think it's inevitable that that unity is coming.
I'm actually 50-50 on that because I believe there's good that can be made out of it, but also I think there could be bad, because if it's just a police state and you're doing something that you don't want to do willfully, or let's say, I don't know, but if there's one religion, one language, all this kind of stuff, it would alleviate a lot of underlying issues, because there's so many different religions around the world. There's so many different cultures. It's good, to have different people and all that, and have your own set of views and values and all that kind of stuff. So that's good. As long as it doesn't get into the way of actually existing in the best way that we can as human beings.
I definitely need to know more about it to answer completely. Pigeons.
I think it's a pretty standard concept. I don't think it's super likely. Greed plays into a lot of governments, and I think a lot of governments won't be for it. And it's also, if you have one governing body, it's also it's harder for each of the people, I think, to get a say, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know like if that could ever be truly reached, in the sense that there's so many individual like countries with their own opinions and stuff like that, and also like different groups with their own ideals of what, you know, the government should be like. So I don't think that could be reached. It's kind of like an ideal situation.
So what do you think their reasons for doing this are? I mean, if they're already billionaires, I mean, that's what usually drives evilness, is getting more money. But if they're already billionaires, what do you think is driving them? Do you think they just want to...
Well, I think you're right. They're already billionaires. In fact, they don't need any more money. They print the money. I think it becomes an all-out lust and consuming desire for power and control, ultimate control, essentially. And possibly even something even bigger, if you really want my opinion, on the spiritual level. I think it's the battle for control of every single person on the planet. Yeah, you know.
Good luck with that.
Yeah. All right, well, the results are in, and we've gotten about 7 or 8 people today, and it looks like only 2 of them have actually heard of the Bilderberg group. I'm not too surprised. That's generally how it goes with these videos. But one thing that was concerning to me was the amount of people who were in favor of a one world government. We obviously have a lot of work still to do here, ladies and gentlemen. So on that note, I want to let you know I will be going to Bilderberg in attendance in Italy in about a week and a half from now. So if you want to help us raise awareness about this group and about the agendas that they're forming, please check the links in the description below. And hopefully when we do these streeters next year, we'll get a heck of a lot more people than just 2 people who know about Bilderberg, and we'll get a heck of a lot less who want a one world government.